Friendship is Optimal by Iceman. Prologue, Equestria Online. James looked skeptically at his friend David as he sat down at computer number 12. David had won the Hasbro raffle for one of 15 all-expenses-paid trips for two to Pawtucket, Rhode Island, to play the first alpha build of the official My Little Pony MMO, Equestria Online. Hasbro had claimed that a game that revolved so heavily around friendship needed actual friends to test properly. "Look, I'm glad you invited me," James said as he picked up his headset. "And it's cool I get to try something before anyone else, but I'm not sure I really want to play a game that's so pink and purple." David scoffed. "I know you. What was that Korean MMO with the little girls that you were so into? You'll be running dungeons over and over again, just like you do with every MMO that comes out. But me?" Dave gave the wildest smile possible. "I'm here for the ponies. We both get what we want." "That's the thing. There's no way this can be good. This is a licensed game which has only had a single year of development," James said, shaking his head. "This has to be shovelware. You can't do a good game or interaction design in such a short time, not to mention art and sound assets." "How about we make a bet?" asked David. "If the game impresses you, even just a little bit, I'll spend up to $50 buying you a copy of it. But in turn, you'll have to play it for at least 3 months. "That isn't actually a bet, David," said James. "That deal mostly benefits me. What do you get out of it anyway?" "I get to play the video game with my best friend. By the time I roll the character in World of Warcraft, you already moved on to Ion. It'd be nice to level ponies together." James looked at his friend for several moments and turned away. He quietly said, "Ugh, deal." It was a few moments before he focused on his computer. His screen had some sort of questionnaire to fill out. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite thing in the world? James wondered why they were asking all these annoying questions. His favorite food was pepper jack cheese, but there was no way that could be relevant in Equestria. He took a peek to his right at David's monitor. He didn't have a personality test and already had a pony on screen. 18 questions later, the screen faded to black. He was shown the banners for Earth, Pegasus, and Unicorn ponies, and told to choose one. When he had played World of Warcraft, he was one of his guild's tanks, and also one of the alchemists who made potions for their raids. He knew he liked running around zones looking for herbs. The description of Earth ponies mentioned that they were the toughest class, and they were good with plants. David said that every piece of marketing material had stressed that Equestria Online was not a traditional MMO. There would be little, if any, combat. James didn't believe that for a moment. He clicked on the Earth Pony banner. He knew he was going to be a tank, whatever the marketer said. If David somehow convinced him to play this pink monstrosity for real, he knew he was going to spend months of his life playing the endgame content over and over and over again, until he got his epic saddle of protection. The next scene faded on his monitor. A gray Earth pony with navy blue hair lay on a bed of straw. The pony turned his head and looked straight at him through the monitor, and the pony felt familiar. James heard David's surprised voice over his headset. "Look at this!" A blue unicorn walked on screen. "It's me! As a pony!" said the excited unicorn in David's voice, with perfect lip syncing. James turned away from his screen and looked at his friend. David grinned and said, "No, look at the screen." The unicorn started making funny faces. And then James noticed that his pony had an astonished expression on his face. He raised a hand to scratch his head, and his pony raised his hoof. For the first time, James noticed that the flat panel monitor had an embedded webcam. He started making faces at the camera, and his pony on screen mimicked his expression. He heard his friends laugh over his headphones. James realized why his pony felt familiar. He had said his favorite color was navy blue. The mane style was similar to his hairstyle, perhaps a little longer. He realized that was supposed to be his face, modified extensively. Okay, that's kind of cool, I guess, he said. But I don't see how you're going to build a game around it. Howdy, said a voice. The camera zoomed out from focusing on James and David's ponies to reveal a red earth pony mare, who gave a small bow. My name's Honeycrisp, so I beg your pardon, but are y'all those new ponies we've been hearing about? James mumbled. Why, yes we are, said David's blue unicorn. We just came to Equestria. What do we do now? Honeycrisp gave a hearty laugh, and she trotted up to James's pony. It's all right, I won't hurt you. So I reckon you don't have a pony name yet. Wait, you understand us? James asked incredulously. I sure can, Sugar Cube, she said with a snort. Your name is Honeycrisp, James repeated. Sure is. I'll take care of the farm. Well, the two of you better get started. You gotta get along to Canterlot. Don't worry, Princess Celestia will give y'all ponies pretty pony names. Can't be walking around these parts calling yourselves James and David now, can you? Wait, how do you know my name? James asked and pulled the right headphone cup off his ear so he could listen to the room. Of course they know our names, laughed David. We filled out those forms at the front desk to get our accounts. James heard David's voice over his left headphone and his uncovered right ear. Honeycrisp gave a hearty laugh. Ha ha! Oh, you'll find that Princess Celestia knows all about y'all new pony folk who've been coming to these parts. I was given a list of names and got lucky. And as he was listening to Honeycrisp with his left ear, all James could hear with his right were a few people in the room, reacting incredulously. Wait, you can understand me? He heard a female voice ask. What James didn't hear was anyone talking in a southern drawl. He put the headphone cup back over his right ear. So, how do we get to this Canterlot place? James asked. Go right out this door and through the forest. There ain't any monsters around these parts. Just follow the path and you'll be on the main road to Canterlot, replied Honeycrisp. Thank you, said James, and his pony gave a little bow. James blinked. He hadn't told his pony to bow. He didn't even know what key he'd press to make his pony bow. Whatever. James moved his gray earth pony out the open barn door and into the night, with David following slightly behind. The art style of the game looked like a few clips of the show that David had shown him, except with much more detail. As the two ponies approached the edge of the forest, he noticed that the plants weren't copy-pasted. Each tree had a unique branch structure. There was something almost natural about the placement of rocks and rotten logs. The place itself was well worn, but it was not perfectly straight and had irregular growth of plants on it. He didn't even want to imagine how much time had been spent crafting this forest. James's light gray pony turned to his unicorn friend. Man, I tell you one thing, the production values are through the roof. Still, this looks like it's turning into a standard RPG. Quest-giving NPC tells us to go from point A to point B. Except we actually got to talk to the quest-giving NPC, said the little blue unicorn next to him. In a normal MMO, we'd have clicked on the pony with the exclamation point above its head, and then clicked on the accept button. But here, the game mechanic seems to be talking. All the face mapping makes sense if this game is about conversation. James's mouth opened and closed a few times. Also, I don't see an action bar along the bottom of the screen. If you press 1 on your keyboard, I bet nothing happens. The two of them continued through the forest. staying on the well-marked path until they came into a small clearing. The path only passed through the edge and continued on into the woods, but on the other side of the clearing was some sort of hut, with light pouring out of it. Obviously, the level designers were trying to draw their attention to it, so James trotted over and David followed behind him. Outside the hut, a zebra sat on her hind legs while she slowly moved herbs and flowers from sorted piles on a low table to the bubbling iron cauldron, its contents a deep aquamarine. The zebra looked up from her work and peered into the darkness. "Ponies who trot through the night. Would you care to step into the light?" said the zebra through James's headset. James moved his up to the zebra's hobble. "Obsidian stripes, tens of flame. My little ponies, what are your names?" "My name's James," he said, just because Honeycrisp had told him that that was no name for a pony. "I'm sure out there you have great fame, but while in here, speak not that name," said Obsidian Stripes in a very serious tone. James watched David's blue unicorn butt in and say, "We don't have pony names yet." Obsidian Stripe nodded as if to herself. "Do ponies on a midnight trot? Do you make for Canterlot?" "Yes, I'm going through this introductory quest chain," James said. Obsidian Stripe tilted her head up, as if the pony in front of her had gone crazy. "I know you see me through a frame, but from this side, this is no game." What my friend meant to say," said David, "is that the two of us are going to Canterlot, so Princess Celestia can give us our pony names." Obsidian Stripe nodded at the unicorn, and then turned back to the gray stallion. "I trust the princess will name you well, but I also have my secrets to tell. You may come closer, do not cower. I've seen you've been eyeing my flowers." "I've seen those pink flowers all around the forest. Can I gather them and do something with them?" asked James. "This is pink daisy, fragrant and fair. Pink daisy grows just about everywhere, in the forest and the field. You will have a bountiful yield," said Obsidian, pointing to a large pile of de-stemmed pink flowers on the side of the workbench, farthest from the cauldron. "My brew must cook, with a slow burn. I have some time to help you learn. Do not worry, you do not disturb. Would you like to learn the simple herbs?" "Yes, please train me in herbalism," James said emphatically. Maybe he'd even have a stack to sell on the auction house by the time he got to Canterlot, assuming there was a player-to-player economy. He reminded himself not to put the cart before the pony. Obsidian Stripe laughed. "Please focus on the here and now. We do not aim to awe and wow." The zebra continued, introducing queen's foil, thyme, mint, and blue shroom, one by one. James and David were invited to click on each pile, looting a sample which went into their saddlebags. "And how do I combine them into potions like you're making?" asked James, once he reached the last of the 5 piles. "How to brew will remain unsaid. First learn to gather the plants instead." James nodded, an action mirrored by his gray earth pony with navy hair. "Okay, sure, thanks." James started to walk back to the forest, but looked back at the zebra. Though I will sit here and remain, I hope you find your pony names," Obsidian said, and gave them a small wave as they went back to stirring. "Oh dear, oh my, this will not do. I must add more time to the brew," she muttered to herself. The earth pony and unicorn walked through the forest in silence for almost a minute. James kept thinking about Honeycrisp and Obsidian Stripe. "What the hell?" he muttered to himself. "What's wrong?" asked the unicorn. "Honeycrisp's dialogue was basic enough to be scripted," said James, as his pony turned to face David's unicorn. "But Obsidian Stripe reacted to what we were saying. She even made a subtle jab at Warcraft after I mentioned herbalism. She was able to keep track of topic changes. If that zebra was an NPC, the Turing test has been solved. And you've played The Fall of Asgard. All Varpiner Studios is just really good at what they do. No, James said, and his little pony shook his head emphatically. Asgard had really good AI for the enemies, but it was still fundamentally a first-person action game. This is something totally new. I can't think of any games based on completely free-form conversation. You just don't invent a completely new genre with only 1 year of development. And one of the reasons we have genres is because it lets us find works we like easier. Will anyone want to play this? Conversation is nice, but what's it going to do for my stats? David's unicorn rolled his eyes. Says the party animal to the guy who doesn't get out much. And I'd love to see my numbers go up, but being among ponies is sort of a dream come true for me. Okay, forget all about all of that. If they've created software that can pass the Turing test, why are they wasting the technology on a My Little Pony video game? I can think of vastly more profitable ways to use a conversational agent that can pass a Turing test. Something is weird here. Are you at least a bit curious about how this happens? Doesn't any of this surprise you? Okay, well, that was the prologue to Friendship is Optimal. I'm apologizing right now for my lack of a Inner Chaos chapter, partly because I've been very tired lately. My job's been fairly busy. Lots of people want to go into the park, and I have to answer phone calls and stuff. So I get tired, and I haven't really had time to... Well, I've had time. I've just been too tired to really try and do a reading of an hour-and-a-half long chapter. So I do have a recording that I'm working on right now. And I only have 2 days left to use my trial version of Sony Vegas, which kind of sucks. So hopefully I can get that to you before that trial runs out. And then I have to go back to Windows Movie Maker. Unless I buy Vegas. But I don't know if I'll have the money to do that. So yeah, sorry. I apologize for my lack of a reading put up. Anyways, this was, like I said, the prologue to, Friendship is Optimal. So far, I've liked it. I've read the first few chapters, and it sounds interesting. But yeah, let me know if you're really interested in this, and I'll do more. It's a bit easier to do than Inner Chaos, just because this chapter length's a bit shorter. So I might do these in between readings of Inner Chaos, just to give you something. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I thank you for listening, and I wish you a good night and good luck.